Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. It's time for brunch time. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome to issue number 333 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's episode, we're just going to have weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth and talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're old. We're going to talk about them there. For advertising future club discussions, we'll be talking about the future issues of Uncle Scrooge, Earth's Mightiest Duck, starting with number 2. We did number 1 in the last episode in the feed. And then we will be covering the upcoming Marvel DC crossovers, kicking it off with Batman Deadpool number 1. So those are just some upcoming club discussions for this show. But we're going to dive right into it with the weekly reviews. First up for me is a graphic novel that I got my attention through the previews catalog. I saw the title and I'm like, all right, I'm into it. We are talking about Dracula's Brunch Club. Count Dracula is not your average vampire. Well, sure, he's undead, hates garlic, and will burn up in sunlight. But unlike the other vampires, he has a knack for baking. And it's his brunch club's famous blood orange jelly donuts that give his fellow vampires the energy source they need to live forever. But when Transylvania experiences a mysterious jelly shortage, it allows his nemesis, Constantine, to swoop in and steal the brunch club and the vampire's loyalty from Dracula. But it's not just jelly donuts at stake. Emphasis on steak. When townsfolk start to go missing, Dracula suspects Constantine has far more sinister motives lurking that could threaten everything vampires and humans have worked for. With the help of his chef and also his human friend Elena, Dracula must find a new energy source before every vampire and human turns on him and he loses his coveted brunch club forever. And I wasn't expecting this, but this has a foreword from Kevin Jonas of the Jonas Brothers. I was reading it, and then I saw Kevin Jonas, and I'm like, well, this is interesting. So this is done by Brian Gonzer and Keenan Gabaya. So this was definitely one of those picks that I often talk about, that when I see it, I'm very drawn from a funny name. It had a very interesting cover with a box of donuts and some blood coming out with some vampire puncture marks there in one of the jellies. And this is from Oni Press, so it had all of the ingredients that can get my attention. And I had an absolute blast. I read this in a sitting. I love the art style here. Very cartoony, very fun. This is a very comedic book from beginning to end. There are so many jokes in this. There's definitely a decent amount of side characters and stuff, but a lot of it just deals, like most of the book is dealing with Dracula and his chef friend, and show an image of the chef friend there. So basically the story is that Dracula kind of went off for 6 months and kind of came back and realized that his brunch club has been stolen from him from Constantine, who has come back to Transylvania. And the story is deals with the idea that these vampires are getting their life through these blood orange jelly donuts. And I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that, like, the vampires themselves are kind of clueless. Like blood is not the reason for them staying alive and everything. It's literally the jelly donuts here, and it's a real fun gimmick as they kind of go through, and a lot of like vampire tropes that, this is kind of set in a world where Dracula is helping out humans. Has humans in his brunch club. He's helping them around town, and people are excited to take selfies with Dracula, and he's just a good dude. And Constantine, when he comes in, he's very upset that he's too trusting with the humans. He's talking about in the past how they've been hunted by humans and they shouldn't be living together like this. And Constantine forces it to become a vampire-only brunch club. And that doesn't sit well with Dracula. And then the added plot twist of all of the blood orange jelly and even all the other kind of jellies and jams, all of the jelly has gone missing from Transylvania, has been, mysteriously stolen, and Dracula has to figure out how to keep these people happy because with Constantine coming in and taking over, and now they don't have these precious jelly donuts from Dracula, they are, losing their loyalty to Dracula, and so this graphic novel deals with Dracula and his chef, and then the human friend Elena, who he has a crush on, and basically trying to win back the respect of the vampire community with the jelly donuts and trying to figure out a recipe to draw them back into the fold. But yeah, this is very funny. Very, I was just blown away by how great this is. I'll show off a couple other images here just to kind of show just kind of the goofy cartooniness of what's going on here. Um, there's some of the characters who very much treat vampires as the enemy, but then like I said, you got the humans that are very much team vampire and think they're great to society and everything, and it's just kind of a real cool take on the lore. Here's the shot where he's taking a selfie with one of the villagers or whatever, um, but yeah, this was a lot of fun. Light research into the book and realizing that the author Brian, um, I don't know if this is his first graphic novel, but he basically loves donuts, and he kind of fused that into his story, and then he just kind of happened upon this artist and who was always looking for like kind of a kids, because this is definitely for all ages and kids humor and stuff, looking for somebody that wanted to do draw a story like this, so they kind of came together and made it happen. And I love the back treatment here. It has the nutrition facts on the back of the graphic novel. Nutrition facts here: serving size, one book. Amount per serving is 224 pages. The percent daily value of donuts is 250%. Vitamin D is 0. Garlic 0. Brunch clubs, there's 1. Spirit awards, there's 1. Recipes, there's 2 because they do include some donut pastry recipes in the back. Creepy castles, there's 2. And then total laughs, 100%. Yep, I can 100% back those nutrition facts. The one time where a nutrition label is fits my needs and I believe it. So this book was amazing. I follow both of the creators. I'll be watching very closely to see what else they do, whether it be more stories within this world or other things like it. Dracula's Brunch Club is a big win. All right.
Oh, I'm glad to hear because I bought it for Shelley. Mine hasn't come in yet. So.
Yeah, it's funny and adorable.
I got Death of the Silver Surfer, issue 1.
Yes.
I didn't jump on this run because I was going to wait for like the trade or something, but I heard a few people really enjoying it, so I had the opportunity to pick up the first issue for half price, and I figured, what the heck, give it a shot, and really happy I did. Silver Surfer's final voyage. The Silver Surfer returns to defend a war-ravaged Earth, but Norn has a galaxy-sized target on his back. The new enemy will stop at nothing to steal away everything the Surfer is or ever will be. A single human life may be all that decides the Surfer's salvation or damnation. If the Surfer falls, who then wields the awesome power cosmic? And what of the Surfer's old master, Galactus, devourer of the worlds? We got Greg Pak doing the writing, and penciler is Sumit Kumar on this. It starts out a very interesting way of a person that basically on his last legs, laying out in the field, and you also see this roach on its back and the representation between the two, and he's begging for his life, and the surfers got the power to do something about it. And we see that during this, I don't know if surfer gets pulled through some type of, there's this big thing that he's getting this blast from, and I don't know
Some kind of
exactly
vortex.
what's caused that. What's that?
Some kind of vortex or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking it was, because then we jump over to this gal, which I've never seen before, but apparently she is a newer style character. She's got some abilities, but not really sure uh, what she fully can do. But she works with someone that really hates aliens. She's got issues with the Silver Surfer. She sends her after the Silver Surfer. But before that, we see people getting attacked by a giant mantis looking bug that has fire coming out of like four of its tentacle things. And he basically takes that thing down. And then we see it jump over to the Fantastic Four, going back to a battlefield that in the beginning we see Surfer appearing at in the middle of a war between some allies to the US and can't remember who the other side, what country they're from. There's this beautiful 2-page spread for it.
Your audio, you must have hit mute on there, Kirby.
Yeah, and I hit the comic. The comic must have hit the pause or the space bar when I set it down. But this is the lady that's, I feel, is manipulating this Kogal. I think her last name is Koa or so. I was hoping to find it, but I should have wrote it down. But Kelly Cole. Kon. My eyes are getting worse. Nope, Koh. So Kelly Cole, and she's part of Shield. And this lady must run like the alien part, and she's sending her off to go after the Silver Surfer. And she does catch up to him, and they end up in a battle, and interesting things happen in this. And I don't want to give away the end where it leads to, but I like the banter between, I like what she's doing, what Agent Cole is doing with, they have her mother represented in this. And I think we're going to find out there's going to be something with her mother in the future. But then we also end with Galactus's image, and I'm kind of curious what happened there, but I don't want to give that away either. But it's, yeah, I think there's like 3 issues out now, or the third one's just coming out.
Yeah, something
And
like that, I think.
yeah, I got the second one set up through the same guy, so he's gonna set it aside for me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing that run. It's definitely interesting. I'm glad people talked me into it. Check out Death of the Silver Surfer.
Cool cover there.
Yeah, surfing the lava waves.
Cool. Well, we're gonna find out more about Lilo and Stitch with Katie. Which one do you have today?
Yeah, absolutely. So last week I brought issue 1 of Lilo and Stitch Ohana, and I wanted to check out the rest of the story because it was really fun. So this week I have Lilo and Stitch Ohana Volume 1. This is a hardcover family paperback. It's written by Greg Pak. Creative team looks like by Giulia Giacomo, and it's published by Dynamite with collaboration from Disney Comics. So, um, similar to last week, it's a pretty simple story. This is designed for, I think, kids and families and anyone who's a fan of Stitch. If you are, not into comics, but you'd like Stitch, I think you would find this very accessible. And I just felt like this was a fun comic. I had fun reading this. I thought you could have subtitled it Stitch's World Tour because at the end of last issue, he ended up in New York and he was gonna be hiding out at the toy convention. And in this book, he gets literally shipped in a box to Australia. And he crash lands in Mumbai, India, and then finally gets back to Hawaii. Gosh, this was just so much fun. It did have the moral throughout the book of like, Stitch is a part of a family and he's trying to take care of his Ohana, and he recognizes that the bad guys are after him, and so that causes, trouble for his family and the people that he needs. So let's dive into it because even the bad guys end up becoming good guys by the end of this book. I will say we have some giant alien robot fights, but I mean they barely classify as cartoon violence, so there's too many in here to worry about. Some moments that I liked were when Stitch is running around the toy convention. A vendor was trying to sell koala bears as like stuffed toy koala bears, but their manufacturer messed up the order and they're all wrong and look like scary monsters and stuff. And he's like, how am I going to sell these? Well, Stitch is there and he has an uncanny resemblance to these mutant koalas. And the guy's like, you know what? I got it. Because everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's so weird, but so cute. So Stitch is making big money at the convention booth. He's taking selfies. He's signing autographs. Everyone wants to buy one of these kawaii koala bears because they're just so darn cute and funny. And, we get great hijinks throughout where the robots are trying to trying to get Stitch, and they keep getting distracted. Like one of them gets their caricature drawn and they're like, oh, isn't it weird that like humans like dress up in costumes to go and look at toys? And they try to hit Stitch with some kind of like sci-fi bomb type thing. And of course it doesn't work, but it scatters all the toys everywhere. And Lilo is able to catch up with him and it looks like things are going well. And she basically puts like a sci-fi version of an Apple Watch on Stitch's wrist so that she can always talk to him and be in touch with him. But Stitch is concerned that the giant robots will just keep coming. So he's like, I'm sorry, Lilo, I can't come home yet. And he says all of this in like Stitch-ese. I'm putting it into common for us. And, he made a new friend and his new friend's like, hey, you can hang out with me for a little bit. Nobody really, comes around my place. And he says, no, like, I don't want to hurt you. And he is taken down to the UPS store. It's called Box and Ship in this universe, and stuck in a box and shipped as far away as possible as anyone could imagine from New York. And he gets dropped off in the outback of Australia. So poor little guy's all alone on the other side of the planet. But thankfully, there's a lot of pretty wild animals in Australia. So Stitch sees a sign that says, danger, wild animals, do not approach your pet. So he scratches a little doodle of Stitch in next to like the kangaroo and the snake and the giant spider. He's like, oh, good place for Stitch. So he's goofing around in the desert and he ends up hooking up with like a park ranger and a tour guide who takes Stitch home to his family, where there's another little girl who really enjoys playing with Stitch. And we get the moral repeated about, being a part of a community is not just you take. You also have to give, and you have a responsibility to not only the other people in your family or where you're living, but also the earth and the animals around you. and that's reflected by some tourists, being kind of disrespectful and climbing on, rocks that they were told that they should not go on and they should leave alone. They're very important to the native Australian peoples. But Stitch and the ranger do end up rescuing them and getting them down off these rocks. There's a really funny moment where the guy says, "No, Stitch, you got to stay here, little buddy. It's dangerous." And Stitch says, "That's okay. Stitch is dangerous." And he busts out his extra set of arms and glowing green eyes. A subplot in this book is that Stitch is dangerous, but he's not bad because he has now made friends and learned about people. So now he is good. But they help the tourists, and once again, the giant robots are coming, and they're giving everybody a hard time. And Stitch beats them up, and turns them into kind of like a jet ski type thing, and gets all the way to Mumbai, India, where he lands on the beach, and these teenagers got the old camcorder out, and they're trying to film like a backyard monster movie and stuff. And well, Stitch and the robots kind of interrupt that, and the models that they're using get trashed. But the teenagers are like, "This is the best thing ever. We have an actual monster and alien robots. You got to be in our movie." So they make this movie. It's goofy, it's silly, it goes viral, and that's how Pleakley and Jumba end up finding Stitch again, and they go and try and rescue him. And Lilo has her typical sass because they're like, "Oh well, the bad guys are saying he's such a marvel of destruction," and Lilo, and if the new drones have incorporated his proclivities, and Lilo says, "I don't even know what proclivities are, but this is not Stitch's fault." Really cute. So the kids go and rescue Stitch. We get a bunch of robot punch 'em ups with the bad guys, and everybody learns a lesson about making friends and being a part of your family and respecting others and trying not to prejudge people and looking inside people's hearts and minds about what's really important to them. So our bad guy robots see that Stitch has actually become a good guy and he's not a threat to them, and everyone's going to be okay. The epilogue is really cute. We're all back in Hawaii and everyone's having fun playing on the beach. And Pleakley and Jumba say to the robots, "You're self-maintaining robots. Why did you do this?" And they're like, "Oh, we're basically like slaves to our overlords, and they work to death. And we're doing all of these boring office jobs and countless bureaucracies and red tape, and it's so unfulfilling." And Pleakley says, "But why didn't you just quit? You don't actually need the money." And they're like, "Oh, now that you mention it," because they had never had somebody say to them, "Hey, you have direction in your life." They said 626 was the only successful rebel I've ever heard of. Very cute, very sweet. Lilo and Stitch promise that they will never be separated again. And as soon as I turned the page, I knew that was setting up. They will be separated again. One of the aliens from the Galactic Federation comes down in a spaceship and says, "By command of the Grand Councilwoman of the Galactic Federation, your presence is required on planet Turo." But it's not Stitch that they want, it's Lilo. So we end on a to be continued. And I did check. They are continuing to publish issues of this, so I think I'll keep checking it out. Overall, my gosh, such a super fun book. I felt like I was smiling and laughing the whole time I read it. Yes, I think this is probably designed for younger readers, and I think that's actually a strength. There's whole pages where there's not a lot of words, so this could be a great opportunity to say, "Hey, I will read an issue, and you can read an issue and practice your reading with the younglings in your Ohana." It's bright, it's colorful, the characters look like they do in the TV series. No serious violence, nobody's really getting hurt in this, and even the bad guys are actually not all that bad and they become good guys. If you're a fan of Stitch, this is going to have everything you want. We got goofy hijinks, and we get to see Stitch in locations we haven't before. I thought this was really fun. It's a great light read, and it's good for young and young at heart folks. That's my review of Lilo and Stitch Ohana.
Very cool. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. So the first book I talked about was a Brunch Club. But now I'm talking about a Cryptid Club. This is the Cryptid Club, a Nessie situation. A Nessie Situation is the second book in the hilarious four-book graphic novel series, The Cryptid Club. Super sleuth Lily, her younger brother Henry, their neighbor Oliver, and new friend Ernie band together to figure out if the Loch Ness Monster is really hiding in their school's bathroom. When Lily learns that a strange monster might be living in the school's bathroom, she knows that the Cryptid Club has found their next case. But when the club discovers strange writing on the bathroom stalls and that something is stealing paper and pens, they know it's going to take some super duper sleuthing to crack this caper. Then the monster starts popping up in the school toilets, and things quickly go from bad to worse. The principal has ordered all of the bathrooms closed immediately. Um, Now Lily, Henry, Oliver, and their new friend Ernie have to solve the mystery before the entire school has an accident of epic proportions. This one is done by Michael Brum and Jeff Mack. Cryptid Club is another one. The first one was Bigfoot. It was like Bigfoot on the football team or something. I know there was an advertisement here, so I was going to get what the actual thing was. Um, Bigfoot Takes the Field. I talked about that one maybe last year, and it was a really fun book. And what's really fun is that this book is very standalone, that even though this is the second book, you can still just jump right into this one. But a fun little fact that would probably get you to read the other one is that now Bigfoot is just part of their school, like openly. So there's a great scene of like the bleachers and all the human students, and then Bigfoot's just like hanging out, and he's one of the students with them. Um, so yeah, so if that doesn't get you to sell you on the first one, but yeah, this one is a lot of fun. I like the Loch Ness Monster. I like all the myth and the lore revolved around Nessie, and so I was excited to see that as the topic of this next one here. So yeah, we have our crew. We have a new player, the Ernie character, who has a very ongoing funny gag throughout the book, where like he's talking about, yeah, I think it's for like a school project, like writing a report about like who he wants to be when he grows up or something like that. And he basically wants to be a superhero, so he's dressed in the very homemade superhero fashion with, the blanket tied around him and the, bandana and things like that. But what's funny is that throughout the graphic novel, he is constantly trying to figure out a good name for himself. So every time he does something heroic and helps out the team, he comes up with a new name that it's kind of, he's like still workshopping it. So it's a funny little gag. I was flipping around trying to find that Bigfoot image. So yeah, there's Bigfoot just hanging around. Now he's part of the school and everything. So that's a funny little thing there. Kind of like what Katie said with the kind of the tone of the Lilo and Stitch books, is that, while it might be creepy and monsters and this and that, it's all just super fun. Nothing is like scary, and everything is hilarious and fun and funny. And they may tease you with a couple images, like when people are throughout the school, students are talking about that they saw something in the bathroom stalls, whether it be the boys or the girls' room. It's happened a couple, multiple reports. So we do have a couple like images like this that kind of creep in, kind of because it's being told in a certain fashion from these students. But it's right here on the cover, so I'll show Nessie right here. So Nessie doesn't look too threatening if you look at her up here. So, but yeah, it's done very well. It's very hilarious. These kids are fun. This is one of those kind of graphic novels that has, a lot of the, poop humor, fart humor, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of those kind of jokes throughout the story. Here's another image I was looking for, is when the custodian was talking about his story with Nessie. So here is a splash page there of his reaction. Nessie with the plunger on top of her head. But yeah, so it's just super fun, super funny. I didn't know it was going to be a 4-book series until I read that synopsis there. I'm definitely going to buy the other two. I'm halfway in, but yeah, this is a lot of fun. I like cryptid related things, and when you just put the all ages spin on it and just make everything fun and happy and goofy, then I like it even more. So yeah. Oh, and there's a lot of good jokes here, because right off the top it says, there are strange sounds coming from the boys' bathroom. So there's a lot of jokes when they talk about that, and they're retelling their stories, and they're just like, yeah, that sounds no, you're like, no, not those kind of sounds, different sounds. So it's, yeah, very hilarious, very fun, and yeah, don't know what else to say, but I'm a big fan of the Cryptid Club, and even though there's 4 books in the series, I would probably buy more. So check out a Nessie situation.
Everybody poops. All right, I got Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, number 27. I really wanted to read this, but I've been trying to hold out till I got the first 26, which I'm getting there, but I just couldn't wait any longer. This is where Sergeant Fury faces a significant challenge when his left eye is injured due to some catastrophe. He is forced to withdraw from the Howlers' mission to cover their escape, leading to a solo mission where he must navigate Nazi lines alone. The story also reveals the backstory of Fury's eye patch, which he wears to conceal the injury. This issue is notable for its exploration of Fury's character and the impact of his injury on his future adventures. Again, the crew are on a mission because the Nazis happen to come up with a weapon that this little lighthouse, the light part goes up in the air and then it shoots off like some type of red light that affects everything mechanically. I don't know if it's it's not like an EMP blast, but like when one plane flies over, all of a sudden their engines start going all wonky and stuff, and then they end up going down because of the new weapon. So the crew is thrown in. They go jumping out of the plane, going into the mission, and don't want to open parachutes until they're low enough so they don't get spotted, but they do get spotted by one vehicle full of Nazis, and they decide that they're not going to start shooting at them. They basically know where they're going to land. They're going to go out there and basically plan a little sneak attack on them. And when they get there, they can't find Fury or the Commandos because they're already on the ground and already looking at the Nazis themselves and have putting their plan into their sights. And while this happens, they go after the vehicle full of enemies, and one of them happens to throw a grenade at the Howlers, and Fury picks it up. Someone makes a comment that it's going to go off, and of course, Fury's got to talk about stuff a little bit before he throws it. So by the time he throws it, it's a little late. The grenade goes off, and a flurkin flies out of the grenade blast and hits Fury right in the eye.
Really?
I still think that's the best way of him losing this. Getting the eye patch was with the flurkin attack.
And this comic, is this one from the 60s? Like original publication? Is that what we're talking?
Yes. Actual year is 1966.
So, like, I didn't know. So, in the MCU movies, that was like the reveal of Sam Jackson getting scratched and all that stuff. And I remember a lot of people reacting, being like, "Oh, that was dumb. It was a big mystery." I honestly had no idea what the origin was in the comic, and I had no clue.
Yeah, me neither. I was very, very surprised.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, seeing the actual origin story was very interesting. It's kind of the only downfalls about it is, I mean, they basically have a special bazooka that they use to take out the weapon. And after that, of course, Fury sends the rest of the Howlers back home. Yep, there's the cat, the evil doer. And he sends them back to get safe while he goes on, which makes no sense because he just basically lost his eyesight in one eye. You'd think you'd have to mentally adapt to that and you wouldn't be able to do a lot of your stuff, but he comes across an interesting character, takes him out, swaps clothes with him, and basically walks right into a village that's just all Nazi territory. And he gets in, and the guy does come out. He comes out in just his long underwear, and because I know Fury said he was going to dress him up with his clothes, but you never see him in Fury's clothes. But Fury takes his clothes and goes on and works his way into the village. But the character sits there and explains everything to the rest of the Nazis that Fury came, knocked him out, took his clothes, and of course, Nazis don't trust him, so they shoot him in the leg so they can interrogate him and stuff. So, but Fury ends up in a tavern in this town, and just so happens that sitting at one of the tables is Hitler's second in command and the guy that made this device, and he won't give up the secrets to how to make it. He wants to keep it in his brain so no one will take him out. So basically, the rest of the Nazis are trying to get him to give up the information, and at the same time, Fury's like, well, I'm sitting on a perfect opportunity right now because you got the second in command, you got the guy that created the weaponry, all that. And there's one character that's just being treated like crap constantly by one of his commanding officers, and he just can't take it anymore because he's tried to help the guy out with stuff, and he still treats him like that. So he ends up turning on the Nazis and helping Fury take this guy that made the weapon and get him out of there. The second in command character noticed Fury and recognized his face, and so battle ensues and stuff like that, and then they get the other character out of there and get going instead of Fury taking out anybody and stuff at that moment. But he has to go through a bunch of travels to get back to U.S. territory, and as that's happening, they find out about this character also, and they want to send Howlers back with some other people and try and get the guy and bring him back to their side so he can't build any more of this weaponry. And as they're doing that, Fury comes busting through the door with the character and all that stuff. But it was very interesting learning about the origin story of this. He does end up in a hospital getting work done. The doctor comes out to talk to the Howlers and explains to him that he could do an operation that would possibly save the eye, but Fury's like, no, because it would put him up for a year before he could come back on another mission or anything again. So he's not about to do that with the war going on. So the doctor explains to the Howlers that he could lose the sight within a week, a month, a year, 10 years, 20 years, who knows? But it does explain that I think it's roughly like 10 years later or whatever, where he loses his eyesight completely out of that eye and stuff. But yeah, it was very interesting layout of the origin story. I was very happy to get my hands on this issue. And Fury does a lot of things after he loses the eye that someone that lost their eye should never be able to do. I mean, he gets on a plane and dealing with a plane and stuff, is shooting weaponry, and he's hitting targets head on and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it is Nick Fury, so you gotta expect a little extra from
His
him.
other eye was holding him back this whole time.
Yeah, apparently he didn't need to sigh at all. But yeah,
Okay.
that was very, very happy to get my hands on that one.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Fun little fact. I didn't know about that. All right. So I'm getting away from the club theme of my books. I'm getting away from the all ages theme of my books because I'm finishing it up with Battle Beast issue number 1. Now, I think I talked about this a month or two ago where Joe Crone, manager over at Oh Yeah Comics and Skokie, he loves the Battle Beast character who is part of the Invincible comics universe. I've only read a little bit of Invincible. I haven't seen the animated series at all, but he was really pushing issue number 1, and they had these blind bags of just getting all these like mystery covers and everything. I'm like, all right, I'm going in blind anyways, not half blind like Nick Fury in that last issue. But I figured, all right, I'll just dive in. Joe really likes this character. I'll buy one of the blind bags. Open it up, only to find out that I got an issue number 2 as the surprise blind bag for issue number 1. Now, while this is fun and all, it didn't help me out because I still needed issue 1. So, eventually getting I think, a third printing. So I finally have read Battle Beast issue number 1 and number 2, but this one will focus on number 1 here. Cursed with an unquenchable thirst for violence, Battle Beast searches the universe for the one warrior mightier than him, and a glorious death his only reward. But even in a universe of mighty Viltrumites, like Invincible and Omni-Man, it seems that no one may be able to stop the galaxy's deadliest warrior unless he does the unthinkable. This comic is done by Robert Kirkman, Ryan Ottley, Annalisa Leone, and Russ Wooten. All right, I had a blast with this. Once again, I knew nothing about this character, very little about the Invincible world, and I don't think you need to know anything other than checking out this cool, battle lion here who just rips people apart and just this is a very big blood fest. Like this is literally the first panel of the book is him just kind of saying, all right, this is all you've got. The whole idea of this character is that he's better than everybody. He's saying that people say that if they're going to be a challenge for him, they're not a challenge. He's offended that they ever thought that he was worthy enough of his time to fight, and he kind of hangs around in this spaceship, which the inner robot monologue voice of the spaceship that's kind of held secret in there reveals right in the first couple pages is talking about that basically I can find you what you need. Like Battle Beast is talking about basically that he basically wants to die. He wants to die in battle. He wants to find someone that can finally kill him. And there's a couple depressing moments with him just kind of talking about that. And the robot voice is deciding that, hey, we can kind of go out into space and search amongst the galaxy and find you the best of the best. Here's another cool shot of him sitting on a throne here. Battle Beast character, I mean, really cool design, a lot of great splash page work here. Ryan Ottley does amazing work. I met him when he was doing the run on Amazing Spider-Man, knowing he came from this world, but now he's returned back to Robert Kirkman after playing around with Spider-Man. But yeah, this threat that he comes across, this is all just kind of part of the opening battle. He kind of meets this alien form that starts to kind of test him a little bit. This is the first issue of a series. I don't know if this is an ongoing or a mini series. I don't know what to expect. I don't know the limits of this character. So even though he's talking about he's the best, I'm still maybe expecting, all right, maybe in this first issue he's already met his match. I'll leave that to a mystery for people that want to read it yet. Just showing off some cool artwork of kind of just some headbutting action there. But yeah, if you're big into the battles and the punches and the blood and the dismemberment and all that kind of stuff, you're getting all of that within this issue. And then the one thing I'll tease is that there is an alien character that Battle Beast meets within the story that almost kind of sets him on his journey and kind of gives him a a reason to kind of have a little sidekick, but not in a man like, hey, we're friends now, but kind of a reason to keep this person around, this alien around. And I thought that was a fun little gimmick to kind of go forward with the series, is kind of wondering, you know, Battle Beast, who seems to not be too friendly, but now to have to put up with this alien who is now going to take along for him, and they both kind of have a separate missions, but similar goals in the same sense. But yeah, that was issue 1. I did read issue 2 right away. I really like them both. I don't know how long it's going, but as I come across these issues in the wild, I'll definitely pick up some more of this. And I know somewhere down the road I will read some Invincible. I think I own it digitally with some of the I forget what those are called when you donate like digital bundles that are officially hosted by the companies, mostly like independent companies, but they have the where you kind of donate something and you just get a huge package of like digital comics and series and volumes and all this kind of stuff. And I've had that stuff sitting in the library for quite some time, but also trying to, wind down the stacks that are physically in front of me before I don't even have to look at the digital stacks that are piling up. So as far as I know, the digital stacks piling up are as tall as the iPad, as thick as the iPad is. But yeah, I am excited now. I don't know how big of a player he is in the Invincible world. Like, I don't know if he's in all of the issues or a handful of them, or comes back, or if he's a main villain here and there. I know nothing about Battle Beast, but from here I know that I'm going to keep reading his comic book as long as they make them, I guess. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah, that was Battle Beast. It was exciting to get the mystery number 2, only to then try to track down issue number 1, and now I got them both. So Battle Beast number 1.
Yeah, I tried to watch Invincible, didn't grab me right off the bat. I got to retry it, give it a second chance. But
That's Amazon.
Battle
Right?
Beast is so popular right now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe Crone was just really, promoting this book, and he had the artist in the Skokie area draw some Battle Beast sketch cards in their style and like put them as like, I think he added them into mystery like blind bag picking for customers that they could like get a piece of art from one of their local artists and stuff. So he just kind of did this own little self promotion campaign because he loved the character, and it was enough to grab my attention. So, and I drew Battle Beast. I think I have the sketch card laying around here somewhere, but I drew it too prior to reading this. I just like looked at images, being like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna take part in that little challenge at home." But, anyways,
Yeah. All right, we got Spider-Man Annual number 1 from 2023. The Contest of Chaos begins. Spider-Man versus Wolverine. This is a variant cover too. Agatha Harkness is building a new Darkhold, and she's pitting Earth's mightiest heroes against each other to do it. First on her list is Spider-Man, whose regular day is turned upside down when he involuntarily walks through a portal to a remote magical city and is attacked by Wolverine. And basically, he doesn't walk through a portal. He gets home, and it starts out with Agatha holding this heart, Spidey hunched over, so you're instantly thinking that he ripped the heart out of his chest. And honestly, by the end of this story, I'm not sure who she got the heart from, but it's a live pumping heart because it's dripping blood and stuff. But the thing that sold me on this was the person that was selling it. They flipped through the whole comic just to make sure it's all right all the way through. I seen the number 1 Spidey character, Rhino, in there. So yeah, I'm gonna pick it up. But he only gets about 3 pages of effort on this story before Spidey ends up having to deal with some other stuff, because with Agatha playing with the Darkhold and stuff, he gets pulled into everything. And when he goes home, he climbs through his window, and this world is on the other side. So he's not sure if it's a real world, a fantasy world, or what, because you got these great pillars. You got buildings floating on rocks above the city and stuff. But eventually, before that, Agatha gets confronted by one of the Darkhold demons, and they try to stop her. But we find out that she's on a ship in the middle of the ocean, working on this whole Darkhold thing that she's trying to make the new book because of the Scarlet Witch. Basically, what did she do? Absorb the original Darkhold, or became part of her, or something like that. Back then, that's why Agatha's trying to make a new Darkhold.
Yeah, there's some current stuff that I was just reading, not having read that stuff, but I'm reading some aftermath of the Darkhold, and I can't remember what Marvel book I was just reading where I was kind of getting the glimpse of what's going on there. So, the Werewolf by Night book. I
Okay.
just caught up on those issues of the last year or two, and yeah, they're dealing with Anyways,
Yeah, that's another one I still got to read. But yeah, well, Spidey's checking out this world, trying to figure if it's real or not. He tries to talk to a bird. Bird's not going to have nothing to do with it. He flies off. But then all of a sudden, Wolverine comes flying through the glass where Spidey's at and just starts attacking him. And then Wolverine, with his super smeller, notices that there's certain smells that are familiar with him, with Spidey, and he realizes Spidey's an actual character. So Wolverine was thrown into this world too, and he explains to Spidey that it is, I think it's like a place in the Amazon where there used to be rumors of a type of village or area in that realm, and that's what's fake in here. And it's got some reality, some fakeness going on in this area that they're put into, but they finally settle down as much as Wolverine can. And all of a sudden, they're walking through a temple and a door opens, and there's this purple orb that has something to do with the Darkhold. And of course, both of them look at it, and their eyes turn purple, and they get obsessed with it. And they end up fighting over it, seeing who can control it. And Wolverine ends up with the ball in hand, and Agatha ends up pulling him back to her because that's what she's wanting, is to get her hands on that so she can finish what she's doing with the Darkhold. But yeah, this was very interesting. I haven't read anything prior or after it, so I'm gonna have to catch up a little bit on this. I know the newest Spider-Man run that I'm waiting to start getting on. I know Rhino was part of that, so I jumped on it. I don't know if it'll flow off this or not, since this was 2023. But yeah, it was definitely a fun, interesting look at that. With Agatha, I'm not big on the wizardry, the magic stuff, but I do enjoy seeing things with Agatha in it because she's just cool. But yeah, it's nice to catch up on things from the past every now and then. I gotta look for other things so I can figure out what the heck she ended up doing.
yeah, that was the same experience when I was catching up on Werewolf by Night, and I didn't know about all this other Darkhold stuff happening. So, still able to enjoy the story I was reading, but now intrigued on what came before. All right. Well, that is going to do it for the weekly reviews as well as today's show. If you want info and some original web comics, go to crimsoncowl.com. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review for the audio version. If you want the full video version, in which sometimes you see actual alive cats, but sometimes you see plush cats, then you go to Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube and subscribe there. That is the full experience of the show, in my opinion. Kirby, you have your podcast Under the Call of MS, if you want to let people know what's been going on over there.
Yeah, it's doing still the reviews and all that stuff and unboxings. And as of this viewing, I am now on a Friday night show on the Crazy Hungarians network where we just show off stuff, show off comics, and talk about random whateverness. And also, we got the Monday comic book auctions on Psychotronic Squirt Guns channels. Check those out. You can find them in my live shows. But yeah, looking forward to October. It's right around the corner. Going to do a scary comic review every day, at least through that month. So.
There you go. So definitely subscribe to Under the Cowl of MS wherever you get your, social media and your YouTube and all that kind of stuff. All right. I have some stuff. Let's see. My art account's Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch, over on. All right. Now, this is where you watch the video version, because if you're listening to this on audio, you are missing out on what's happening right now. I'm not even going to allude to what's happening, because that's going to get you to subscribe on YouTube. So, my art account's Anthony Laatsch over on Facebook and Instagram. If you've been following that, you've realized I've released a brand new comic. At the time of this recording, we're a week away from the MightyCon show. But when you are watching and listening to this, we have returned from MightyCon. So assuming that we have copies left over, I know I should, because I ordered pretty heavy. But I got Rice Christopher, the Wednesday afternoon special, Rice Christopher, the Pineapple Holiday special, and the brand new one, Rice Christopher, the Crispy Canadian special. All 3 issues are available. They're all standalone comics, but they all kind of interconnect if you read them. You just get more if you read them all, but you can pick them up in any order and enjoy. David Gloyd, the owner of Crimson Cowl Media, has released a 30-year project that he's been wanting to do. This is Raving Mad Super Guys Super Spectacular. So check that out if quantities are available. If you want to buy those comics, you can reach out to us, crimsoncowlcomics at gmail.com. That'll be easy enough. It's just one email to go to, crimsoncowlcomics at gmail.com, or you can even comment into the YouTube video and we'll talk in the comments. Cartoonist by Night is the drawing show that I host along with my friends. Recent episode drops. Minerva Fox was on to draw and discuss horror. We talk about many things horror, from television, movies, and comics, and whatever. And then we've actually been ahead of schedule with banking some episodes. So there's one, Philip A. Buck will be the latest drop when this episode is out. Philip A. Buck, a cartoonist, and we talked about slapstick chase cartoons. So if there are your Tom and Jerry's, your Scooby-Doo's, your Wile E. Coyotes, your Roadrunners, and that was definitely a lot of fun just to kind of confine it to a specific style of chase cartoons. And then an episode that is in the can at the moment, be out towards the end of September. Syndicated artist D. Parson was on our Cartoonist by Night. He has the creator of Rosebuds, the syndicated comic strip. He's got several other comic strips. We learn all about that and talk about syndicated comic strips as well. Topic that we could always talk about forever and ever. There's so much to say. And so just subscribe to Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube to catch all those episodes. And I think that is it for that plug. That is it over here. The only thing I had left sitting here was a copy of Abraham Linkage. So check out Art Baltazar, Abraham Linkage, best comic ever made. All right, that's going to do it. This whole time, I've felt refreshed like an air-conditioned coffin on a hot Transylvania day.
Schnick, schnick, schwip, twip.
And I've been a kawaii koala bear.
To be continued.